You know, you have the power to create anything you want, literally anything. You can have it all. All you need to know is the key to unlock the lock. The thoughts you think today are creating the future you're going to have tomorrow. If you want to know what you were thinking a year ago, look at what's going on in your life right now. It doesn't matter what your current situation is, you can change it. There are no limitations. There are only limitless possibilities in your life. And I know this is true because it's true in my own life.
Jack Canfield is America's #1 success coach. When it comes to the subject of reinvention, few have studied the subject more than you have, Jack. And I'm sure through the course of the many individuals and the organizations you have personally worked with, you must have formed your own theories about what it takes to successfully reinvent, whether it's a company, a community, or a career.
Well, I think the first thing you have to do is look at what's inside of you that wants to be expressed. And you also have to look at the marketplace, the world. What is the market needing? And if you can find a convergence of those two things, then you have an opportunity to reinvent yourself in a way that actually has some viability in the marketplace for economic gain, whether it's for you or an organization. Problem is most people are not in touch with themselves, and most people lose touch with the marketplace. And so one of the things I teach is constant feedback, feedback being the breakfast of champions, as our good friend Ken Blanchard once said. And so I'm constantly in my business, because we've had to reinvent ourselves numerous times. I mean, I was the self-esteem seminar guy, then I was the chicken soup for the soul guy, and then it was the success principles guy. I was one of the secret guys, with the law of attraction. And now with the advent of the internet, we've had to totally reinvent our business because there's so much free information online, and you have to give it in order to get people to know who you are and want to play. But at the same time, you can't give everything away. So you have to figure out, well, how do I get people involved with the internet? But we've now been able to invite, we have people like from 47 countries will come to take one of our seminars. So we've developed an online training program. We do weekly video blogs. We do Ask Jack seminars and webinars and teleseminars, constantly looking at how can we meet the needs of people and find out what they want. Because a lot of times we may be wanting to do something, but there's no one there wanting it. That's not going to work. And if we're not giving people what they want, but at the same time, we don't want to not express who we are, what our unique gifts are. So it's that convergence, that blend of those two things. And whether it's an individual or organization, that's what has to occur.
Your background and your experience is what's leading me to ask this most personal question,
Sure.
which is, what's your personal conviction in the face of when you see so many people struggle with reinvention? What do you think is the limiting factor? If there's one sort of limiting factor you could put and assign that people run into, what would that be?
Well, I hate that question in general. People say, well, what's the most important success principle? It's like saying you can keep one organ in your body. Which one would you keep? The rest of them are important. But I would say in general, I think some of the limiting factors are limiting beliefs. I'm too old. We don't have the management team. I don't have the staff. I don't have the resources. I don't know enough about that market. I don't know how to play with the internet. I'm too technologically uninformed. People have limiting beliefs about why it's not possible. The second thing I think is habits. We get very habitual. We do things a certain way over and over and over. I learned this really. I used to eat nuts every night around 10 o'clock. Because I learned later that that's when my brain was working really hard. Nuts actually feed the brain. And yet, if I didn't have those nuts, my body would go crazy. Now, do I really need those nuts? Probably not. We know in road rage, people get on the freeway. If they've been doing road rage and they don't get someone to get angry at, the biochemical thing in their body all goes haywire because they're used to having that feeling. So breaking out of a habit is really, really challenging. That's why having a consultant, a mentor, a management team that works with you, someone holding you accountable to the new behavior, because we all live in a comfort zone and we're used to it. And it's uncomfortable to do anything new. It doesn't matter what it is, it's going to be uncomfortable. And so we have to be willing to push ourselves through that. And here's a little technique that's useful. If you can visualize yourself doing the uncomfortable thing, you do that for about 30 days, your subconscious actually gets comfortable being the new way. And therefore, then all of a sudden, that habit, that crustacean around, the habit can fall away. So you don't have to go out and necessarily, walk on coals with Tony Robbins to break through, although that's a good technique. I've done that. But the idea is you can ease into transformation by visualizing the new behavior that you'd have to do, whether it's being more transparent, engaging your team more, checking with people, being, more outrageous, whatever it might be. If we're willing to visualize it first and feel those feelings, the subconscious cannot tell the difference between a real event and an imagined event. That's why we can scare ourselves. We see a rope on the side of the road, we think it's a snake, and we freak out. The body can't tell the difference. So we can literally train our body for transformation, for change, make it much less painful if we visualize first and then act second.
If you're nuts about reinvention, Jack Canfield is certainly a go-to guru worth exploring. If you don't mind me asking, Jack, what's ahead for the Canfield crew as we look forward to 2016 and beyond? Because, as you mentioned, you're continually reinventing yourself.
Well, two things. As I mentioned, we just have an online training program now. Our goal is by 2030 to train 1 million trainers around the world. So if anyone's interested in taking this technology, that we've developed a system of about 50 principles and techniques that if you use them in the right order, at the right time, in the right way. I use it like, let's say, if you're undoing the combination to a lock, if you don't have the right numbers or you have them in the wrong order, it won't work. And I don't care how hard you work it, it's not going to open. So if you want to come work with me to do that, I'd love to have you go to my website, jackcanfield.com. And the other thing is we have a book coming out in January called The 30-Day Sobriety Solution. It's about if you're an alcoholic or have someone in your family who is and they want to reinvent themselves as a sober person. We've taken all the principles from the success principles and applied them to sobriety. We have an 85% success rate with people just doing the book, because the book comes with a website. It's literally about a $2,500 program you buy for $30 in the book because you have access to this website. So that's one of our new initiatives. And lastly, I'm working on a book called Choose Love Over Fear. So I think the biggest thing that's stopping us, including reinventing ourselves, is fear. Fear of failure, fear of our thing not working, fear of people judging us, fear of the unknown. So all of that is, those are my three big things we're going to be working on in the future.
Call it chicken soup for the reinvention soul. Jack Canfield, America's #1 success coach, helping you to recreate and reimaginate the business, the life, the career that you deserve.